business is all about people and relationships. You know, you show love to people, they want to work with you. People want to work with people who they like, that they believe in.
Oh, look at that guy's shoes. Oh, look at that guy's thing. But really, look at that guy.
You know, there's people walking around every day that have money in spades and they look like shit and they feel like shit. That doesn't get me excited. I'm not looking to those people as examples at all.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Today, our guest is Constantine Riziotis, who has amassed 50 real estate properties and rentals, 50 plus real estate rentals and properties at the fine, ripe age of 30 years old. Welcome to the show, Constantine.
Excuse me. Thanks
He was
for
just
having
eating
me,
some
guys.
peanuts.
Dan's got all these snacks down here.
Yeah,
Constantine wanted to be full of nuts before we started.
So, Constantine, tell us a little bit about how you got started, because 50 plus properties, my apologies, at the age of 30 is quite impressive. And, you know, there's probably people your age, including myself, who are looking to get started right now. So how did you get started?
Where do you want me to start? Do you want me to...
First property. Let's go with the
Okay.
first property, and then from the first property to maybe the fifth property.
So I'd say the journey was unique right from the start because the first property acquired end of 2018. Yeah, I believe November, December of 18. I purchased on seller finance terms from a gentleman privately. That gentleman, you know, owned over 100 properties between the Bay Shore, Keyport, and Point Pleasant. His primary residence on the water in Point Pleasant. And I just happened to reach out to him. You know, I just was like, I messaged him on Facebook, told him who I was, told him a little about me. And he got back to me 3 weeks later and said, call me. Called him up. We chatted. I was actually living in Providence, Rhode Island at the time. This was right before the wrestling season was over, so I was still there. I was coaching my former college, Johnson Wales, and I actually took the train home to meet him, and we were able to make a deal. So at the time, it was a 2-family house, 6-bed, 2-bath, so each unit was 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, and I bought the property for $300,000. I put down $100,000. And he held the note, so I had, you know, automatic payments, you know, set up to him every month. I remember the number. It was $1,227, principal and interest. He held the note for 25 years at 5%, and that was where I started. And when I bought the property, the 2 apartments were rented at $1,650 each. You know, that was the rent back then, and I just happened to buy at the right time. So a year after that, rents were over $2,000 each, and my nut was $1,227. Plus, I had about $800 a month between taxes and insurance. So I had about $2,000 of net profit left over every month, which I didn't need, and just let it compound and use that to reinvest into the next property, you know, in addition to my working capital that I was, you know, actively, you know, trading time for. So combine that, and that's kind of how we got the ball rolling.
So you were like 23,
24.
24?
Yeah.
So where did you get the initial 100,000?
So that's a crazy story. I've always been, you know, very ambitious, hard worker. So I saved my money. But that money that I used for that initial deposit came from basically my childhood earnings. When I was young, you can't tell now, but I modeled for Ford in Manhattan, Ford Children, and I started that. I was like 7, 8 years old, so I'd do Children's Place, Nordstrom Kids, and at the time, you know, we're going back over 20 years now. They were paying, you know, $125 an hour for a shoot, and so my mom would take me into the city, whether it was 1 or 2 or 4 days a week, we'd go on what was called go-sees. That was when you basically went and they saw if they liked you, if they booked you, you'd go back for the shoot. And my parents invested that money for me. And so they put in a mutual fund. And when I turned 21, they basically gave it to me, and it was give or take $100,000. And that was the money that I used to go into that first deal.
Where does entrepreneurship fall into your life? Is your family full of entrepreneurs? Like, where do you get this entrepreneurship soul from?
Yeah, my family definitely. If I look, immediate family, everyone was in business for themselves. My father, my grandfathers, both of them, and then even branching out into extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. Not too many people, worked, 9-to-5s or, W-2 jobs. They, everyone kind of bet on themselves at some point in their lives. So me, it came early on. I was always, my mom tells stories. I was like 6, 7 years old, elementary school, selling things, like bracelets, whatever it was. It didn't matter. Yeah. I always had that in me. It starts young. You either have it, or you don't to some, capacity. And then obviously you can train it to really take it to the next level.
I remember my son, he was like, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. He was buying these energy drinks from this dude. And he was buying cases of energy drinks, and he was storing them in his locker in school. And their principal calls up. He's like, "Yo, your kid's making all this money off of these kids." They told me to hand the money back. He's like, "Hell no, I'm not giving you no money back." Yeah, it definitely starts young, and you see ambition, and I think it helps seeing and growing up in the environment of entrepreneurs, because you get to see like the inside world, not the outside world, like what life should really be like, what you can really have versus like what the story of the world tells you.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. I saw things firsthand. I mean, things are different now, but look, I remember the days when, my dad worked 80 hours a week. That was a full 80 hours a week. And at the time, business wasn't what it is now. We weren't around it. He really paid the piper,
Yeah.
So, he tells me all the time, like, and it's true. He's like, you haven't gone through hard times, and the one thing that I would say is like, it's one thing to be given everything. That's the one thing that hasn't been the case. Like, no, I haven't experienced hard times, but I've also really busted my ass.
Yeah.
So I've sacrificed.
Yeah,
I've delayed personal gratification.
Correct. You learn work ethic. You know, and what your dad did. If you look at most entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs don't understand, like, why do most entrepreneurs quit? Why do most fail? Is because they don't want to sacrifice that 10 years, 100 hours a week. They want to be at every sporting event. They want to be at every wedding and every this and every that. You got to sacrifice that shit. You got to miss that shit. I did it, and at the end of the day, like, that's the only way you're going to make it.
And he did that.
Yep.
And he did it. And, it puts a smile on my face when I think back, because we really, he'll watch this one day and, he'll smile. That's about all you're going to get out of him.
I know. I met Pops.
Yeah. He's, he's an old school dude.
Yeah.
He looks young. It's crazy. He looks like he's 50, but he's 63. Doesn't work out, but he's, slapped together.
Yeah. No salt in the parking lot.
Doesn't want to trek salt through the bar. But yeah, no, he, exactly what you just described, that 10, 12 year grind where you really delay your gratification. You have to, otherwise you never get to the other side when you're the one who's starting, the dream. And I, without that conversation ever taking place, I just always had it in me to just take things to the next level. And that's what I'm doing. And by no means have I arrived, but I'm proud of the strong foundation that I've built. And I know that with consistent daily action, the sky's the limit. So
Consistency, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it's true. Like you either sacrifice now or you sacrifice later, but later it comes back in the form of regret. And I mean, personally, that's my biggest fear. Speaking of
Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. You know,
That's it.
everyone wants, quick gain, but then they have long-term sacrifice.
Yeah, instant gratification is a drug. It's a drug, and you can't put it down once you get it once. But speaking of sacrifice early, why did you start so early? At 24, 25 years old, such a young age.
Yeah.
What got you going?
I just caught the bug. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to put what I have in my head right now to go back to where I was. I think my dad owned some rental properties. Not many, a couple 2-family homes, and I would help him here and there, yard work. Like he did everything himself, which we argue about that, but he always wanted to be super hands-on with everything. And I would go and help me every once in a while. I'd ask him, Gus, to come help me move this, and or help me do some yard work, and I never minded. So I would go with him, and that was like an easy way for us to, to bond.
Right?
Yeah. So I'd go with him, and I started asking questions, like digging into the numbers a little bit. Like, what does this look like? He had the couple properties that he did own at the time. He had done really well on, right? So. The 1-2 family he had purchased years prior for all in for $200,000, and he was renting it for $4,000 a month, and so it was free and clear, and so his cash on cash return was 18% on a free and clear property. That's kind of hard to achieve. It's very hard to achieve now. At the time, it was a little more common. And I knew what the numbers are. I'm like, all right, so you're you bought this for $200,000. You're putting $35,000 a month at the time. Now it's more, but $35,000 a month on this, $35,000 a year on this one property in your pocket. That's $3,000 a month. I said, all I need to do is buy I'm 21-year-old Constantine now, so I'm thinking that $100,000 net is a lot. And I'm like, I just need to buy 3 of these. I'm like, and then I don't have to work. But I don't really want to do that, but at least I have the option to choose how I spend my time. And so that leads me to kind of my whole philosophy with regards to all this stuff is it's never been about making, the most money or, walking around like I got a 10-foot, cock. It's not, it's always been to
Next time your girl, let's ask her.
It's tall for no reason.
So it's always just been about having the option to choose how I spend my time, and with that in consideration, I probably wouldn't change a damn thing, and I'd still want to work 6 days a week because I don't do well with, downtime. But it's nice to know that, God forbid, trials, tribulations came up in life, that I have the option, to step away, and I'm not going to be, in the poorhouse. You know what I mean? It gives me that solid base that I was talking about.
You said cash on cash return. For those in their audience listening right now, watching right now, can you explain that a little bit and why it's so important and where you should be?
Yeah.
How do you come to that number as well?
Try to explain it for someone who doesn't know what they're listening to as simple as possible. We use a round number. Just call it $100,000. If you put your money in the bank at a 4% interest rate in a regular savings account, at the end of the year, that 100 would have given you back $4,000, right? But you're gonna get a 1099 on that money, and you're gonna pay taxes on it. So it's not really a 4% return. It might effectively be a
1%,
3% return. So if you invested it in a real estate, that's going to give you back a 10% cash on cash return. That 100,000, put 10,000 in your pocket, and now you have depreciation, you have a write-off, you have amortization. I'm not even including that, but that's the cash on cash. 100,000 out of pocket. If it returns you $10,000 annually, it's a 10% cash on cash return.
And that's in regard to the down payment.
That's in regard to
I put $100,000.
the cash out of my pocket. How much
Right.
Liquid cash that I part with, and how much yield am I actually receiving back on an annual basis is cash on cash.
Right. And what's an acceptable rate? Like, what deal makes sense versus what deal doesn't make sense?
So
and, how do you decide on what deal?
That's a really good question, because I have, that's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. For me, it's what aligns with my investment strategy. So I'm not always looking for the biggest yield. I like to, I listen to Warren Buffett, and he said, you don't have to hit home run on real estate deals. You need to buy the best locations with decent cash returns, and you're going to be way ahead of the game. That's how you win. You don't have to steal. You don't want to buy in the D-class neighborhoods, in the war zones, where you may get 25, 30% plus returns, but those areas are not desirable. I only buy in A-plus areas, and I buy great locations, and I buy properties that throw off an average, cash on cash return. So for me, anywhere, I would say anywhere from 10 to 15% cash on cash is great, and I achieve that consistently, which is far better than you can get, anywhere else.
Right.
That's without taking into account amortization of that loan, right? Because every month that principal and interest that I don't see, part of that is coming back to me in the form of amortization.
Yep.
So the way I look at it now is, over a portfolio of 50 properties, every 50 units, every year there's $150,000 in amortization, right? So I don't see that money, but my my equity position changed, and that's something that's not talked about enough, because people only want to see what's in their pocket.
Yeah.
But equity position is super important.
Down the road, you could borrow off it, buy bigger stuff. The way I look at it is like, let's say a property costs $200,000. As long as I can rent it for $2,000, I'm straight. I always do that 10%, like that.
That 1% rule.
Yeah,
you're renting it for 1% of your acquisition.
Correct. Yeah, and I always believe that's always stood true, and it always makes a lot of sense, and it's the easiest way to figure it out for most people. But yeah, when you start building that equity, people don't understand that. Like, that equity is a big winner. 10 years from now, like, you have millions and millions of dollars. You'll be buying 20, 30, 40 units, and it's paid.
Yeah, that's really how I look at it too. It's not all about what I'm gonna stuff in my pockets. I mean, how much? I don't spend that much money.
Yeah.
I like the flow. Trust me, I love having flow, and that's really what you feel every month, right? Like, when you went from having 10 grand, coming in every month, to now having 20, you really feel that. That opens up, different things for you. It allows you to choose how you spend your time even more so. But I know that the real wealth builder comes in the form of your equity position. And why Warren Buffett said that is because the best locations are resistant to fluctuation. They're resistant to the markets. So, you're going to appreciate at a much, faster rate than that property in Irvington,
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have a property in Irvington, which is a great property.
You have any Section 8?
I do have some Section 8, yeah. Property in Irvington's great. Like, so your numbers.
Yeah.
That was purchased for $425,000 5 years ago, and it rents for close to $7,000 a month.
Yeah.
So you would have been happy if it rented for
that's
$4,500.
Yeah.
That's 1.8.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Keensburg that my dad was that I mentioned before. He was all in for $200, renting it for $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Those numbers, I'd buy that deal every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Every day of the week, I would
figure
buy
it
that
out,
deal.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'll call Dan. If I don't have the capital, if I'm tied up, I know Dan will slide in.
I'm broke, though. I'll use other people's money. So you talk about Warren Buffett. So obviously you are involved in personal development. You do some reading, some research, and you realize that outside of the traditional school model, learning from people like Warren Buffett, and what has that done for you? What has it done for your knowledge, and what has that done for, like, let's talk about you went to college for 4 years?
Yeah.
So 16 years of school, getting taught average things by average people. Now you start following people like Warren Buffett and you start getting involved in that space. How has that changed your mindset?
Yeah, I'm institutionally educated, but I'm self-educated. I'm self-taught. Nobody taught me everything that I know. You know, people ask, "Oh, where did you learn it from? Your dad? From your mom?" No, I didn't learn it from them. I learned work ethic. I learned money management from my parents. Right? They're financially literate people, super good with their money, but my knowledge did not come from them. Self-taught. Like I always reference the Bronx Tale. Right? You know the Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
I got 2 educations, one from school and one from the bar. And this way I'd be twice as smart as everybody else. And it's applicable because I have a bar.
Yeah.
And I'm formally, institutionally educated as well. So yeah, a lot of that very big into self-development, self-mastery. I do yoga, hot yoga 3 days a week. That trains
You
my
probably
mind.
do goat yoga. Got some goats in the back if you want.
That trains my mind, my body, my spirit. It hits on on everything.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I always say I can't have a bad day after I do that, but it's so much more than that. It's a teacher. The messages that the teachers are sharing in the beginning of class, at the end of class, it's all about self-mastery.
Yeah. Next story in your Instagram, I want to see a hot yoga story.
I'll send you one right
You
now.
would want to see that,
I put
Dan.
them on-
You
I
would
put
want
them
to
on.
see a
Yeah,
hot
I
yoga
put them all
story
the
from
time.
Constantine.
That's funny. So you talked about the bar. Like you have some things in the pipeline. I don't know if you want to touch on that.
I won't say too much, and I'm a little superstitious that way. Most people, if you don't know, I've been in the bar business. My dad and my uncle bought a bar in 1993. My dad and my grandfather. And so I grew up in the bar business. I grew up as a little kid running around. My mom would bring me there, when I was bad in school and misbehaving. My dad would smack me around in the office. And then, also always eating good too. But the main thing is just the type of people that go to a bar. You get everyone from blue collar guys coming in overalls like Dan after a day on plowing snow, to the doctor that just got off night shift, and just wants a drink, and then everyone in between. So we have a really good mix of people, and just kind of being around those conversations, just being a fly on the wall from a young age. You see it all, and nothing surprises me. See guys with their families during the week on a Monday, and on Friday,
He's his girlfriend.
He's with the Gumad.
So do you see value in entertaining some of these people, speaking with these people, hearing their stories?
Tons of value.
Yeah.
You learn life. You learn, like we said, the things you don't learn by getting an institutionalized education. You learn how to navigate the real world. I always say, I can go into any room, and I never feel like it's too big. It's just people.
Yeah.
You
Could always learn something from someone.
always learn something from someone, and I don't get like starstruck. It's like, I can have a conversation. I can connect with all these different experiences, contribute to the fact that I can connect with anybody, all different walks of life, and can walk into a room and just resonate with people.
How does that translate to success, you think?
I mean, business is all about people and relationships.
It is.
You show love to people, they want to work with you. People want to work with people who they like, that they believe in.
I trust.
And trust. I mean, the trust is earned, right? But it all starts with a conversation. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. I'm confident that, if you followed me with a camera every day from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, you'd feel better about doing business with me. You'd say, all right, that he's intentional with how he spends his time.
I like that. So you were a wrestler. I mean, what did wrestling do for you in your life as far as dedication, commitment, and discipline?
Hey guys, quick interruption to the show. Please don't forget to follow us and like us.
You can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Hit that like button. We appreciate the algorithm. Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.
All of those things. It allowed me, taught me how to be consistent in my daily action, right? Just routine, big routine guy. If I deviate from my routine, I'm thrown off.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I bug out.
Yeah. I bug out for sure. You don't want to be around me after a couple days off my routine. But again, I believe in that. I believe in a consistent routine. That's, big, contributor to success. Wrestling fostered that routine, day in and day out, right? Like we talk about, chop wood, carry water every day. It taught me that. What else? When you train your body, you train your mind. We were like, we would work out to exhaustion. Not like go to the gym and do some bicep curls. We'd beat the shit out of each other. We were exhausted, gasping for air, laying on the mat, couldn't move for 15 minutes after practice. We put our bodies through some freaking strain, and there's just the average person walking the street hasn't experienced that. So that already just, I'm starting here, right? Because I'm like, I don't walk around thinking about it, but you can't endure what I've endured. Physically, you can't endure what I've endured. Dude, if you don't think that's connected to business, and if you don't think that's connected to everyday life, it's like, dude, I got you beat. Like,
Yeah, it's that one more rep mentality, right? That they say that people who are in organized sports growing up, especially that move into high school and then college, tend to be more successful on the entrepreneurial side.
Yeah,
you live in proof.
I think that there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. I don't know that, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would imagine it's lopsided in that direction. Yeah.
It's hard to beat someone who literally thinks like that, lives like that.
Just beat themselves up. How do you beat the person up who's
Exactly.
literally beats themselves
you're
up?
Bulletproof. Now, what do you think about, this is big for me. What do you think about people who are in business who don't take care of themselves, don't take care of their body, don't take care, they're in business, but they look like shit, or like they don't focus on all aspects.
I'm so glad you asked about that.
Because I think so many people don't realize that some of the most successful people, if not like 95% of the most successful people in this world, look good, feel good, and that's how they do good business.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny you say that, because I don't know can I pull out my phone?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're gonna laugh. I just sent this to my buddy Anthony Cassar, who would be an absolute pleasure to have on this podcast. His story is unbelievable. Best sports story ever. Best sports story untold. But the book is being written.
Awesome.
I just sent him this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's an Alex Rodriguez.
One thing, I put it in front of making money. I really do. I think that being in shape gives you an advantage.
Up to the mic.
Physical stature on a man when he walks into a room, and his ability, like I said, to look you in the eye and body language, it garners respect, and it, in my opinion, can get you further in business. You could be a very rich guy and walk through the grocery store and nobody would know. You can't say that about fitness. You get to carry that with you everywhere you go. It gives you an advantage. Like, that's the number one.
Yeah.
100%.
Literally 2 days ago. So how funny is it that you asked that?
Yeah.
No, I'm not looking at your, bank account and that stuff. There's people walking around every day that have,
Don't want to flash everything. Yeah.
money in spades, and they look like shit and they feel like shit. And, that doesn't get me excited. I'm not looking to those people as examples at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, it has what I admire in people and like what I look up to has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the way they live their lives. The gentleman who I sent this to, Anthony Cassar, I look up to him more than anyone because it's not what I look up to is not things. It's just it's character. You know, his character and his daily action is unprecedented. You know, and I'm not the only one who says that. Bo Nickel, I don't know if you guys have heard of Bo Nickel. He's a up and coming fighter, UFC, one of the you know, the hottest prospects right now. And Bo and Anthony are great friends, and I'm friends with both of them. And Bo says it too. You know, he's around guys, Dana White. He's around Donald Trump. He's around really high level guys, and he's like, you know, I look up to Anthony.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just those personal, you know, those characteristics that you live your life by, that code. That's what's most impressive to me. People like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's always people don't understand. It's always people think, oh, look at that guy's car. Oh, look at that guy's shoes. Oh, look at that guy's thing. But really, look at that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
I'll wear a hoodie everywhere I go and sweatpants in the church. You know what I mean? But they don't know who I am. But at the end of the day, like, I'm open to having a conversation with anyone, sharing with anyone, and I'm not a fat fucking slob. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, how old are you, Dan?
43.
43.
Yeah.
You're 43. You look great. You're built like a gorilla. You know? I mean,
Hitting on me? Trying to give me that tennis?
There's a lot going on here.
you know?
He's waiting. He's looking
Listen,
to see videos of
I
him
like
in
that.
hot
But
yoga.
there was a time in my life, though, like, you know, I've always been involved in the fitness space. I've always been involved in, you know, early on in life, the bodybuilding world. But then, you know, life got so messed up. You know, I went through a divorce. I allowed, like, so many different things to plaster me. I got fat for a while, you know, and I just felt like shit. I looked like shit. And I'm like, you feel like shit.
You do.
You know, and I'm just like, I have to do something about this because this isn't me. And then when you identify into that space of where you know you belong and the place where you know you should be, and you start seeing yourself different, and people start realizing, like, you know, you just walk. I'll have a sweatshirt on. People are like, damn, you're jacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when you hear that shit, not like, oh, you gained some weight. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's okay. We have a dad bod. Fuck that dad bod bullshit. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, oh, embrace the dad bod. No, like, you want to be a fat fuck? You know what I mean? No.
Yeah, embrace laziness. Yeah, let's just do that. I sincerely believe it's what you see in your reflection, right? Yeah. If you don't like what you see, then you're not going to be able to do good. How can you?
Like, being out on the water, like, you don't want to take your shirt off. Like, how many guys don't take their shirt off? Like, bro, that's embarrassing.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Or
like,
wear the shirt in the pool. That's my
wear the
favorite.
shirt in the pool,
That's
yeah.
my favorite. Why are you going to Vegas and
I
going to a
haven't
pool
seen that.
party
I
if
haven't
you're
seen
wearing a
that
shirt?
in a while.
I was in Aruba and there was a guy wearing a shirt, and I'm like, yeah, why you wear a shirt? He goes, because I have boobies.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why don't you fucking work out? Do some push-ups. you
People
know what
pay
I mean?
big money for that. So
But it's crazy just to think that it's one simple thing. People will sit there and watch TV. People will sit there and just do dumb shit in their life, but they won't just spend an hour on themselves. You know? So.
Yep. It's all too common.
let's talk about that Section 8 for a second. It's been looming in my mind, and I
Yeah.
can't get it out because, you know, back in the day, my mother's a real estate agent for like 30-something years. And she said, you know, you should get into Section 8. It's guaranteed money, so on and so forth. This was years ago, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know, I haven't followed the progress of how Section 8 works, you know, what the requirements are, the policies around it, so on and so forth. But my question to you is, if someone's looking to get involved in real estate, does it make sense to diversify into a Section 8, or doesn't really matter? What are the benefits?
So when you say diversify into a Section 8, again, I'm going to give you some grace because I know you're not in it, but that's just a rental option, meaning I go buy X house down the street. I can rent it to Dan, or I can rent it to government subsidized housing.
There's a certain percentage, though, that's allowed by county, if I'm not mistaken, or it's unlimited.
No, so when you say certain percentage, when you list your property for rent, you're going to have someone who applies who has a voucher, a housing voucher. That's through the state. It's a government subsidized, housing voucher through the state, and it's different for everybody. So, like I've learned over the years, I know more about that, that product, and I have some Section 8 tenants. It's not my go-to. It's not too common, but I do have a couple, and have great relationships with the Section 8 offices. Each county has their own, and it's been great. It's worked really well for me, and they're very competitive with their prices. with what they're all. It's not priced. They're very competitive with their with what they
Stipends.
pay. Yeah, with what they pay for rent.
Right.
Then the renter could pay more based on that, right?
Not more, but in some instances, like you will get more because if you have let's just say you have a rental that's, less than perfect, right? They don't look at it that way. As long as it checks off the boxes. Well, this is what we offer in Monmouth County for a 3-bedroom.
Right.
It's $3,000 a month. So you might have a beater that checks off the boxes. You have a roof, you got a kitchen, you got a bath.
That's it. You're off the fucking pod. Get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Let him
We'll
take
get
his phone
back.
out of his pocket. Look what he does now.
Yeah. It's his 51st deal.
So turn that off.
Live on the pod.
Yeah, so that's how it works. So, you agree to take a Section 8 tenant. You speak with their caseworker. Their caseworker is going to send you some documents. It's going to break down the percentage that the tenant pays, right? Because it's not completely, funded by the government. There's a percentage, and that percentage is different for everyone. So I don't really like the vouchers when it's like 50-50. With the tenants on the hook for 50% and the state's on the hook for 50%, because it makes it difficult to recoup if they don't pay. If the tenant doesn't pay, you're always going to get your money from the state. But if the tenant doesn't pay their piece, the process of evicting a government subsidized, tenant on a voucher is a lot more, strenuous than.
Okay.
Then
So what's the percentage breakdown that you prefer?
I have
to see?
some that are 95.5%, and I have one or two that are like 70-30.
And that's 70 government, 30.
70 government, 30
Okay.
tenant.
Now, do you get to choose?
At the same time, with that being said, the people who do have Section 8 vouchers, they're typically very good about paying because nobody wants to lose their voucher.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pay, right, they will take away your voucher. And that's caused a problem for these people. And there is a waiting list for people to get vouchers, right? It's not an unlimited amount. People who have them, they die, then it opens up a few more. That's kind of how that works. It's a great program. Like I said, I'm very fond of it. It's been great to me. It's not my favorite thing. I prefer to buy a property in an A+ neighborhood where I'm going to get a great tenant. Maybe someone who works in the city, by a train station. I prefer that, but I'm very open to Section 8 rentals.
What makes you, what is the deciding factor if you're going to open up to Section 8 housing in any rentals?
It's all about it's just about the numbers.
Yeah.
It's about the numbers. If I can, if it's situational, right? Like if I have a unit that's in a pretty good location, but Section 8 is willing to give me 3, right, for that 3-bedroom, let's say three grand a month. But I could probably get 35 from somebody else, but I'd have to dump 40 grand into that unit to really make it nicer to command that 3,500. Depends on my situation. I may just say, I'd rather get the guaranteed 3. I'm not gonna have to chase my money, and why part with the 30, 40 grand to renovate that apartment when, how long is it gonna take me to recoup that money anyway?
Yeah.
If it's more than 3 or 4 years, it's kind of a
not worth
wash.
it, yeah.
It doesn't really make sense.
You'll gain an equity versus what you'd gain in equity.
Or I just throw that money into a different instead of putting it into this. Again, I've been in a growth phase, so that's also plays into my decision making. Right, I've been expanding that foundation, so that doesn't look like dumping more money into properties that I already own. It looks like acquiring more. So that's why for me, I even at this point, like I said, I'm still in a growth phase, so I probably wouldn't make that decision. I'm fine with the 3. I don't need to, I'm not like trimming the fat yet,
What does Constantine look like 5 years from now? Like, what is your projected goal? I don't know if you've set down goals, but I'm sure you have. But like, where do you project yourself, and where do you want to be?
Yeah, a lot of my goals for like the next 5 years, they're not all, lately where my mind's been going, it's not really all like professional goals, right? It's relationship goals, it's giving back goals. I say it all the time. I don't like putting that out into the ethos, but as a single person, right? If I don't have to worry about me, Constantine's eating steak for the rest of his life every night. So I feel good. I'm okay. Constantine is good. I want to bring people along with me. So that's kind of like where my mind goes for the next 5 years.
Build a family, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Right.
I have a beautiful lady in my life and who means the world to me, and continuing to just build that relationship with her. It's so special to me, and continuing to pour into her, build her up, support her. She's supporting me. It's really just a beautiful thing, and be a good uncle and godfather to my nephew, my niece. My brother just had another baby, and give back to like causes that I see fit, right? And charities that I deem appropriate. With that being said, I'm not going to stop focusing on me. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Without saying too much, I'm in the process of, acquiring another business. So, really excited about that. And maybe next time I come on the show, that'll be in the rear view, and we could talk a little bit about that. But that's really exciting for me. I'm kind of a little. I've reached a kind of a little bit of a plateau, and with just like personally, like getting excited, waking up super excited in the morning. I need someone to get me going. I need the next challenge.
Re-engage.
I need to be re-engaged. I said I'm very comfortability is the enemy of greatness. Mm-hmm. You have to keep. With that being said, it's super hard sometimes. Sometimes your comfort zone is a great one. It's allowed you to be successful, but you have to move that needle.
Yeah.
And I know that I've been ready for that. And sometimes from the time we're ready to take the next step, till we actually execute, there's a little bit of there's a period of time. And so I've been feeling this way for the last couple of years. I was probably 65% ready then. Now I'm 95% ready. You're never 100% ready. So if you're 95% ready,
yeah, you're ready.
You're ready. You're actually past ready.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that next challenge, embracing everything that comes with that. I know I'm gonna take a couple ass paddlings, and I look forward to that. Like making mistakes. That's what I mean by ass paddlings. I look forward to.
Whoa, buddy.
I wasn't gonna ask.
This pod got out of control quick.
I look forward to taking those paddlings and
That's
and
gonna
learning.
be the
Your
topic.
tagline.
That's gonna be the topic. Episode 22.
Take a paddling.
Constantine's ass paddling.
But
feet
you know
modeling.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. Like it's been a while since that's been the case.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to like being a child again and learning, the ins and outs of something new.
Yeah, I always talk about that childlike mentality, getting back to being excited,
Yes.
getting into it. And I tell people often, like, if you're a mover and shaker and you stop moving and shaking, it's over. You know what I mean?
cannot stop moving
You're
and shaking.
paralyzed.
I am. You're
and once you
absolutely
become paralyzed, it's hard to figure out how to walk
No,
again.
we understand each other,
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah.
Our few conversations, I could tell it's cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I like to move. I like to shake. Morning to night, and once you've, what's the word I'm looking for? Once you've achieved your current goal, it's on to the next.
next
And
one,
that childlike mentality is so important.
Yeah.
You want to be excited. You want the next challenge. I'm really looking forward to the next challenge, and it could be very fruitful.
I'm gonna tell you, many people probably your age don't shake like you and don't move like you. You can look back at kids you grew up with. There's probably a very select few that shake like you. And the generations are getting worse and worse. These kids are so fucking focused on their phones, so focused on social media and all this bullshit. They literally like wake up in the morning and they're giving the world their attention versus being like, yo, what the fuck am I going to do today? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And they go to bed with the world. And it's so fucked up that how these kids have been groomed and what they continue to do, because it literally takes like everything away from their ability because they want to say, oh, what's going on here? Oh, what's going on here? And they spend so much time. If they really looked at how much time they wasted and just taking 5%, 10% of that time and investing it in them,
FOMO kills ambition, man. It really does.
it's crazy.
Correct. Yeah, I think FOMO. It does. I don't know if it kills ambition. It changes your act. Your actions every day dictate your future, and FOMO is, like I always say, a no. Sometimes not about saying yes to things. It's not about what you do. A no is a yes to your purpose.
Yeah.
If that no isn't aligned with your purpose, that's a yes to your purpose. So sometimes it's not about action. It's about inaction.
Yeah.
If going out and getting banged up in AC, again, that doesn't align with any of my, my purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I doing that, that's a step in the
I
wrong direction.
I went to a wedding with my brother, I don't know, like a couple months ago. And we were talking about my son. And I was talking about like how hard he works, what he does. He goes, you got to let him be a kid. I'm like, dude, I don't let him not be anything. I said, he chooses to work and do all this. He goes, when he's 21 years old, he's going to be 21, he's going to go out and get banged up. I go, that's going to fucking deteriorate everything that he's building himself towards. I said, I didn't do that. I said, I literally watched all my friends do that, and all my friends sat in the bar Friday night, sat in the bar Saturday night, and where are they today? Sitting on their mom's couch. I said, it's all right, bro. Stop breaking our stuff.
Breaking things, eating peanuts.
So
Mess.
I said, it's totally up to him, and just leave it.
Yeah.
You really did it this time. So I said to him, I said, it's up to him on what he wants to do, but all I'm trying to do is groom him the right way. And like, he's been going out the last couple Friday nights with his brother and his friend, and they're going to a bar hanging out, but that shit'll get old quick. And because you start to realize that the people in that bar are not like-minded people. These are not the people. You look at these people, you're like, oh, they're fucking here every week. They're a bunch of shit bags. They got no fucking money. You know what I mean? And like, this is not the place I want to be. But what happens is like 90% of the world focuses on that because they can't wait to get to the bar.
That's right, Pop.
Right?
That's right.
But you see it too, right? The guys who come Friday and Saturday, like they pissed all their money away. One thing I did.
I don't know what their finances look like, but I know what I do know is what they spend.
Yeah. You're like, keep coming. But what I can tell you is back in the day, I would say like early like 2000s when I paid my guys, I'd always pay them on Monday because I always had the same problem that guys would come to work on Monday and they had no money. So I started paying them on Monday. And then what I would find was they would actually have money. But when you're paying them on Friday, they spend all their money and they want a loan on Wednesday.
Yep.
So
Yes,
I always started paying on Monday.
I just learned something. That's really good. We do the same thing. We pay on Monday. But
You didn't know why until just now?
yeah, exactly. That's
Your dad just told you?
I just learned something.
Yeah. Because you teach people how to balance money. Like, all right, so my son's friend owns a landscape company, right? So he pays all his guys on Friday. He's got all these Mexicans running around. They're drinking their beers, cervezas, they're partying. They don't even show up on Monday because they're still banged up from Sunday. You know what I mean? Now these guys got no money.
Yeah, you
no
pay
money.
them on Monday. You're controlling their finances.
100%.
You're indirectly controlling their finances.
Yeah, 100%.
Big brother. Great.
So what if I could ask you this question, I'm going to steal it. I just stole it again from Anthony.
You're going to ask
He
my
doesn't-
sleep
he
question,
doesn't-
aren't
he
you?
doesn't- he
What
doesn't-
keeps you up at night?
Go ahead, you can ask.
No, go ahead. You love taking it.
Anthony often asks this question, but last couple episodes I'm beating him to it. What keeps you up at night?
Being who I'm meant to be and fulfilling my purpose on this earth. That's what keeps me up. When I feel like I'm not aligned with my purpose, or my actions, my daily actions are not working toward my ultimate purpose, that keeps me up at night. And always the fear of being the fear of inadequacy. You never want to
We all have that.
You know what I'm talking about. You never want to, walk into a room and, feel inadequate. Like that keeps me up. That motivates me. So
before Anthony wraps up, if there's one thing that you can leave the viewer with? Like, let's say somebody out there really wants to do something in life and they don't know where to start. And they want to be successful. They have it inside them, but they don't know where to start. Before you said, you're 95% ready, you're ready. You're never 100% ready. Because I think everyone waits for that 100%. What advice can you give to somebody who really wants to go out there and make a difference in their life and other people's lives that you would contribute to maybe your success?
Yeah. Whatever you're trying to do, I mean, we're not here to tell people what their goal looks like, right? So I think that there's a common theme of people who achieve what they set out to do. And I think it's about simplifying the process, coming up with an action plan, and taking daily action to execute on that plan. Keep it simple. It starts with, waking up at 7 a.m. every day. If you can just wake up, set one of the, part of the action plan to be up doesn't matter what time you go to bed. I want you up at 7 a.m. every day. That'll already put you ahead of 90% of people. And then if you wake up at 7 a.m. and you got a workout done by 9 a.m., now you're ahead of 98% of people. And again, this is just an example, but so then compound that, and then work and be financially literate with your money. Save your money, and don't go to the bar every weekend and piss it away. Come to my bar, but don't go to the bar.
Which I don't think you've plugged.
Go to the bar. Don't go to the bar every weekend, and just make sound decisions. But it's just really whatever you want to set out to do. Just work backwards. What does it look like? What is it going to take to get there? People know, right? And then execute on your action plan.
Small compounded steps every day.
Small compounded steps every day. If you think that success is an overnight thing, it's really not. And that's one thing that I really didn't touch on, over the last hour, is that the level of consistency and the delayed gratification that's necessary, to achieve what you want to do. I believe in chosen suffering. And so that's like a little saying that is dear to my heart, because at some point in everyone's life, they have to suffer for what they really want. And it comes in different forms. Like I say all the time, when a young man makes a decision to want to become a surgeon, he's going to go through a 10-year period of chosen suffering. It's a very stressful time. There's a lot of sleepless nights associated with those 10 years. There's also 10 years of not earning in years when are great, earning years, opportunities to earn during that time. So, that decision to go be a surgeon is not there has to be a lot of passion associated with that. It's not purely a financial decision, right? There's passion and purpose associated with that 10-year period of chosen suffering. Now, I always say, I never had a desire to want to go to medical school or go to law school, right? And you do that because the people who choose to do that, right? It's there's philanthropic reasons, right? You're helping people who are sick. It's a beautiful thing. There's also financial reasons, right? You're typically compensated pretty well. Nowadays, becoming a doctor or a lawyer is definitely not the fastest way to make a lot of money anymore. But we're just using it as the example, right? But they go through a period of chosen suffering. On the other side of that is the reward. They get, to help people, and they get to be compensated well for it. And it didn't come without a price. They paid that. They paid the piper. And so I just use that in my life. Like I believe the principle remains the same no matter what you want to do. So you want to go and be the biggest real estate, investor in Manhattan. Well, you're going to go through a period of suffering. You're going to it looks different, right? You're going to have to save your money. You're going to have to work really hard to broker some great deals. Rub shoulders with the best people. When you jump on a podcast, make sure that you're prepared and you're unforgettable. And slowly those small actions compound, and you paid your price. So choose to suffer, and you'll be better for it.
Love it.
And then if I'm going to ask you for one more thing for the audience. If someone's looking to get into real estate, what's your one bit of advice to get started?
Identify your goal first. Identify what you're looking to do. It's kind of a tough question. Because when you say get into real estate, what do you mean? Investments, rentals?
Investments.
You want to be a real estate agent?
Yeah, investments.
Investments.
Rentals in particular.
I would say
passive income.
start by seriously. Okay, so if I was 20 years old right now and hadn't accomplished anything, I'd find people on social media who are doing, or at least appear to be doing, because a lot of people aren't who they say they are, or at least appear to be doing what you want to do, and send them a really thoughtful message, right? Tell them about who you are. Tell them why you're inspired by them, that you want to copy them and do what they do, and see if you can assist them at all. Help them in return for their knowledge. Do whatever it is, office work, have them do the dirty work for them. I think that's some of the best ways to expedite the process of information, knowledge, is seek out the best people who are doing what you want to do, and get around them. And however you want to do that, whether it's through an investment network or an email, and set up a time for coffee. Ask them. I think people who have done things that they're proud of are eager to share that with people who want to learn, but they're not going to seek you out.
Yeah.
They have to be sought out.
Yeah, my kid's in powder coat, and he seeked out to this guy. He's mentoring him. He's super successful powder coater who's done well, and he literally just reached out, and they talk all the time. And people who are successful are willing to share with someone who's willing to learn. But most of the world wants to be given versus understood.
Yeah.
Or work for it. Yep. Right. Everyone wants something on a silver platter. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Constantine.
Thank you, Anthony.
If anyone wants to find you at the bar, not drinking, but working,
correct.
Where can they find you and chop it up with
at the Brass Rail in Matawan, Brass Rail Bar and Grill. We've been there for 32 years now. 89 Route 79, Matawan. You can reach me on Instagram. I don't have my personal. Message me. You have any questions? Reach out. I have people who message me all the time, and I always get back to everyone. I try my best. C Riziotis, so that's C RISSIOTIS on Instagram. That's probably the best way. Shoot me a message on there. I'm at the bar all the time, but that's for right now. Like I said, we got some changes in the works. Maybe if I jump back on here with Dan and Ant in the near future, we can dive into that. But really appreciate you guys for having me on. It's been a pleasure. This place is awesome. Dan, you did a great job down here.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for being on. And hey, guys, if you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so. Thanks for tuning in.
Talk soon.
Thank you.